Welcome back to the Hive. Thank you for joining us. Today we have a part two. And it's a sad story about a United States Speedway champion, the first United States Speedway champion, Sprouts Elder. 1930, at the end of the season, he raced for the Southampton Saints. When the Saints go marching in. He was a Saint. He was a captain of the Saints. And he said, you know what? I had enough of the British League. He didn't like the team racing. He liked individual racing because he could win. So he packed it up and he took his 50,000 pounds and he decided he would go for a greener pasture, a better life, back to Fresno, California. Sprouts Elder was going home. Fresno, California was his birthplace. He liked it there. That was where he grew up. And he decided he was going to buy some land and build a little speedway track so he could practice. And he brought some local riders and he taught them how to ride speedway also. And he never returned back to England. That was it. No more. Sprouts was probably really tired because he was racing like 6 or 7 years in Australia and the British League. He had all that success. He won all those meets, all those trophies. And he was probably tired because, like I say, in Australia, you travel all over the place. In England, you travel, and then you're racing, and you're entertaining the fans. And 6 or 7 years probably is like an eternity. So Sprouts Elder went home, and he rested. He just wanted to have a good life and kind of stay involved in Speedway in the United States. In 1931, Sprouts was just hanging out at home, having a good time. And then it happened. He got a call from Australia, and it was his manager, A.J. Hunting. A.J. said, hey, Sprouts, we have a world championship, and we got all the Australian, English riders. We want you to come, too, and compete for the first world championship down in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Can you make it, Sprouts? Sprouts had taken about a year off. He was practicing a little bit. He said, I will go. I will race in that championship. I won the first United States Speedway Championship, and I can win the first World Championship too. He flew down to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and all the Speedway riders from England and Australia, the top riders, all flew down there, and they had this big meet. And guess who won? Sprouts Elder. He beat all those guys again from Australia and England. And he was newly crowned the first world champion. That was Sprouts Elder. Sprouts solidified his fame in the United States and the world. So he was really on top of the world. He was on top of the world. And then it happened. He got a telephone call from England and the FIM. And the FIM called Sprouts and said, hey, Sprouts, you didn't win that world championship. We didn't sanction it. So Sprouts was like, what? I'm from America and I won that world championship. And the FIM said, no, you didn't. There was no world championship and you were not world champion. Sprouts was just devastated. He won that world championship and then he had it stripped from him. He was just devastated. It was just a low blow to Sprouts Elder. I don't know, but I'm just wondering if it was an Englishman that won that world championship, if it would be sanctioned. Yeah, if it was the FIM's in England, so I wonder if a British rider won that world championship, if it would have been okay. That was it. That was the nail in the coffin for Sprouts Elder. He said, I will never go back to England again. And he never did. He never touched foot on that soil in England after that particular ruling. And he was pretty pissed off. Wouldn't you be if you won the world championship and then from that other country they called you and said, no, you didn't win. Sprouts Elder, he went ahead and he just said, I'm going to go ahead and promote Speedway in America. August 7th, 1932 was the first known that I know of the Speedway race in the United States, and it was promoted by Sprouts Elder. He went ahead and he had a track down in Ventura Beach, California. Ventura, there's a Speedway track there right now. Steve Evans runs that track down there in Ventura. But there's a Seaside was the sponsor. It was an oil like 32 years. Seaside, do you know that oil? I don't know that oil. I never heard of it. Seaside, they sponsored that race. And guess who was on the program cover of that particular event? Sprouts Elder. In the handicap race, he was in heat number 3, and he was on the 0-yard line. And then you'd say, on the handicap, how could Sprouts Elder be on the 0-yard line? That's like impossible. Well, they adopted the British style of format of handicap racing. So the best rider starts at the 0-yard line, and then they have the marker in front of the gate. So you'll have the 10, 20 in front of the track. Not in America, it's behind. But the old British League style of handicap racing, they had guys on the 20, 30, 40, and there was a guy in the race that was on a 120-yard line in front of Sprouts Elder in that handicap race. And in his scratch racing, he was in heat number 12. And he was lined up against a new young lion. He was going to be on the podium in the World Championship in a couple of years. And he was number 7, Cordy Mills. He was from Pasadena, California. With the help of these oil companies like Seaside, Gilmore Oil Company, Sprouts went ahead and started promoting on all these tracks all over Southern California, and they paid a lot of money. They were paying big money. And they went ahead and racing in Los Angeles, California, Long Beach, California, where I raced in Santa Ana, California. I was racing at that Santa Ana Bowl. I'm not sure where they raced. And this next race that we're going to talk about was at the Navy Shipyard, and it was in San Diego, California. May 31st, 1933, Sprouts continued to promote the sport of Speedway, and it was sponsored by another oil company called Powerine. Powerine sponsored that particular event in San Diego, California. Once again, they had that British style of the handicap racing, and Sprouts Elder was on the 0-yard line once again. And then one of the future world champion, Jack Milne. The famous Jack Milne from Pasadena, California. He was on the 20-yard line, 20 yards ahead of Sprouts. Well, Jack was actually a young rider at the time. Sprouts was pretty experienced, a veteran rider. So Jack had a 20-yard start. And then 40 yards, it was the famous little guy, Pee Wee Colo. Sprouts was in heat number 11 of the scratch program. And guess who was lined up right next to Sprouts Elder? It was that future world champion from Pasadena, California, Jack Milne. Then they had a really interesting thing in heat number 8. The winner of that particular event would race Sprouts Elder in heat number 18, and that was Jack Farron and Mindy Wallen. I don't know who won that particular race, but they had to race Sprouts Elder in heat number 18, and I think they didn't beat Sprouts Elder. I think Sprouts Elder was money on that race. Like I mentioned before, the riders were making a lot of money in those early days. They were cleaning up. And if you're winning, you're cleaning up. And I bet Sprouts Elder was really cleaning up. He promoted the races, then he would take home all the money from the races. So I think he had a pretty good gig going there. However, sad to say that Sprouts Elder's luck started running out. Sprouts was racing in one of his many races he promoted. It was really a good thing going on. And he was racing, he was doing really well. But in one race, he was racing, and a rider came from behind him somehow and hit him. And then he went flying, he crashed, and he had a severe spinal cord injury. And that was the end of the days, the race days of Sprouts Elder. If his career ending by a crash, a horrible crash, wasn't enough, he took all that money he had earned, that 50,000 pounds, and he invested it into a silver mine, some kind of an investment like that. And it happened to lose all the money because the whole thing went bankrupt, probably a fraud. And then Sprouts Elder became penniless. Sprouts lost all of his money and he had to do something. He recovered from his injury in his back and he joined the California Highway Patrol. Sprouts Elder was the California Highway Patrol. He was a chip. He was the first chip. He was before the Fox Bruce Penhall. Sprouts Elder was the original chip. Sprouts thought he was going to be on a roll and have good luck, but it wasn't so. Sprouts Elder had more bad luck. How much bad luck can a guy have? And he went ahead and was driving his car, and then somebody crashed into him, and he had this horrible life-threatening injury, and he had to retire from his office as a chip, and he was badly injured. And then more bad luck followed him. I mean, this guy just all of a sudden, he had all this good luck and then all this bad luck. It was just unbelievable, really. And then his wife of many years, who he loved so dearly, she died. She was like 52. And then more bad luck happened. Sprouts Elder was really on a roll, a bad roll, and he was very depressed. And after his wife's passing a couple years later, he committed suicide and then he passed away also. So that was a very sad ending. Also in 1998, he was inducted to the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Sprouts Elder, one of the truly great legends, the first legends of American Speedway. He was the first glamour boy. He won the first United States Speedway Championship, went over to Australia and won their national championship the first year, went over to the pond over in England, beat everybody up. He was winning all the best. He was dominating. He was electrifying. People loved him. He was just an amazing, unbelievable athlete. So we should always remember the good things that he did, and he was truly a legend. He was the first legend. So we will always remember and cherish and honor who? Sprouts Elder.